If you're a fan of the Sega franchise, and obviously if you're a fan of Sonic, you will know that during the early years of the legendary icon, we'd see quite a number of very influential and legendary titles that would go on to become some of the best games ever made. But with that being said, when games and consoles start to transition into 3D gameplay elements, there would be some different opinions in terms of what fans wanted. Some people still liked the old classic style, but others preferred, were more open-minded towards even changing perspectives. And Sega did try these elements with the likes of Sonic 3D Blast, and even like Sonic Jam and a couple of other titles during the 32-bit era, and later with Sonic Adventure on the Dreamcast. But unfortunately we never got as many games during the 32-bit era that included Sonic, which really would have stood out. And even during that time as well, because you did have the likes of Sonic CD on the Sega CD console add-on, but very little mention was ever heard of the 32X add-on also, which I think is a very underrated piece of kit with regards to Sega's legendary Genesis or Mega Drive console. It had so much potential but just wasn't utilised in the way that it should have been, and Sonic would have been the perfect format for that platform itself, at least to see something come to life. And luckily enough, with this video here, we have in front of me a unique fan-made kind of transition, what would have or could have been like had a Sonic game been released on the 32X platform under the name of Sonic Robo Blast 2, that utilises a full 3D world, but all the characters and sprites with Sonic and the enemies themselves are all 2D. From playing it, it kind of puts me in mind of Bubsy 3D, but it's a lot more polished and just plays a lot better. Graphically, this is very, very impressive, and to think that this could possibly have been on the 32X back in the day would have been quite a feat in itself. And in saying that, this particular demo here, and there is a full game being made that's in the works currently from the development team that's working on it, it is being built with the 32X in mind, so you can play it on an emulator that can run the 32X platform, and that's what I'm doing here, and it runs flawlessly. There's no issues with it at all, and it looks fantastic. Like the graphics and the visuals, the textures look really, really good. And to imagine that this is what we could have had all those years ago during the mid-90s would have really been a delight to have seen on your TV screen, and especially if you were a Sonic fan. It's very, very cool, to say the least. Like with this here, you can play through 3 acts of one of the levels that's currently in development in the game, almost like the Green Hill Zone. And there's so many different areas and hidden secrets to explore. Like even just from the first playthrough that I have here, I didn't even cover or find half of, or even a third of what was there available within the levels themselves. So if you like exploration, you'll have a field day with this. And the fact is, it works flawlessly. Like all your modern emulators, it works seamlessly with it, no problem at all. Plus it will work with your controller support, so even in my case, I had an Xbox One controller connected up to it, works perfectly fine, no issues at all. And I have to say, I really enjoyed it. Right, it is a bit tricky trying to get used to using the controller because you have to use the D-pad to move Sonic around, and it kind of puts your mind of old school games because it does play in that style, but when you get familiar with it, it's very, very cool. One cool trick that I found just by playing it is when you're jumping and trying to hit enemies, if you double tap the button when you're close to enemies, Sonic will almost like spin and zoom into the enemies that are closest to him, so you can create like a chain of hits across all of the enemies, especially if they're close enough together within a certain area. So you can kill enemies very, very easily without having to try and do it manually, if you will, and losing all your rings, which I did quite a few times. But there's definitely enough here. Just these 3 acts alone, you could be playing this for a long time. Funny enough, there's so much playability here, it's crazy. And like I said, to imagine that this could have been available on the 32X platform really is something special. But in saying that, now you have a chance to play something like this. Fans have put together a demo, which there will be a link to download it in the description below. below. I highly recommend that you check it out. It's very, very cool, very niche, very reflective of its time, which is what they were trying to do, and they really did pull it off quite well. And the fact is that they're working on a full version of this will be interesting. If anything, I'll be looking forward to seeing what else can be done with it, because the early signs of it here are very, very good. And it does come at a time as well when you see a lot of Sonic like fan-made games, hacks, mods. There's so many cool things based around the Sonic games and universe itself that there really is so much there that you can explore and enjoy. There really is something for everybody in this day and age. Yeah, it's one to look out for. Very, very cool. Even from playing through it, I played through all of the 3 acts and I got to the final boss. Mind you, it did take me a few tries because it can be tricky to figure out what to do, because you have to learn Robotnik's movement patterns and attack patterns. But when you get familiar with it and get used to the fiddly controls, which is reflective of its time, mind you, that's the way games would have played and felt back then, so it manages to capture that feat really well. But if you can master that, you will have a blast with this. It's a really, really cool idea, and it's cool to see what could have been, more to the point. Yeah, definitely one to check out. Again, there'll be a link in the description. I really do recommend that you give this one a go. I don't think you'll be disappointed. And even just to see Sonic from a different perspective, especially back from what could have been during those earlier generations, yeah, this will definitely be an eye-opener for sure. So definitely go and check it out. But with that being said, this is just but one of many Sonic fan-made games, or even like hacks, and even up-and-coming projects that are in the works that are worth getting excited for. And some of them I have covered previously in other videos, so if you'd like to see more content around these Sonic type games, you can check out this next video right here.